What's up, y'all? My name is John David Washington, and I am rolling out.
So, I saw the film.
All right.
It took me a lot of places. Laugh, angry, laugh, sad, laugh, understood,
Okay.
and then laugh, love with the relationship.
Okay.
And I'm gonna explain all those things.
I'm definitely curious about the understood part.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you as a character, where did it take you in this period?
So, as a character, where did it take me?
Yes.
Where did it take me? Where did the character take me?
Where did the character take you? Being
Like
the fact
emotionally, or what do you mean?
being the fact that it was during this period of time,
Okay.
and then with everything going now, where
Okay.
did it take you
Where did
as
it take me?
you the individual?
During the research, just a lot of documentaries and really, you can start with my playlist, at Iran playlist that was specific to late '60s and '70s music. I went to sleep to Soul Train every night. I would watch Superfly like on a weekly basis. So it was interesting, and during that research, how the country was shaken so much by Vietnam. It really, people were just tired of it. I think they were just such an expressive state after that, whether it be through the arts, the music, and they were just tired of it. They just had it. So being able to try to understand that time period, and then in this case, in Colorado Springs, what does that mean? How many people that look like us lived there, and what was the population? I mean, this guy Ron Starr was the first black officer in the department ever. This was in the '70s ever. So, so from that to obviously what we were talking about in this case specifically in the movie, what he was pursuing, all of that's familiar. This kind of hate right here. It's institutionalized. It's works through generations. It's sort of like it's systemic in a way. You know what I mean? So the connective tissue there is the language. The language that was used, that Ron had to use to get in with this hate group. Right. People use that vernacular still holds up today. People still talk like this. You know what I mean? And it shows you how divided this country is and what they think. So after this movie, maybe, hopefully, God willing, we could start some kind of dialogue, some kind of conversation on how to change the language. Let me tell you something. Like, this whole process, this film, no fear at all. You know why? Because I was in the hands of Spike the Great Lee. You see what I'm saying? Like, when you working with that kind of talent, when you working with, it's a childhood hero. And you see, I learned so much about sets, and it was like a master class. You know what I learned too? That there's more than one way to get to the truth and expressing that truth. You know what I mean? And he is a huge proponent on process. He is all about the process and how we get to these places, emotionally and through the storytelling and through the arc of these characters. So he didn't rush anything, and that to me was the reason I had so much confidence, and I didn't fear. I didn't fear anything. I got a little anxious and I was nervous at first, but no fear, especially once we got rolling. And everybody on set, including myself, believed in what we were doing and believed in the story we were telling. So it was a tremendous, obviously needless to say, it's a tremendous opportunity to be able to play a man like this, like having ballers or whatever come out, and then this now, it's just this is what we do, like as actors, this is what we want, to show range. This is why you gotta love movies like this, to give you perspective on an African-American police officer who believes in change and who was woke, but feels like he can do it from the inside.
Right.
He feels like he can do it with the law. There's a scene in there I can't give away, but it was a scary scene at that banquet, but the law was on his side. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about. It's actually, right. It was on his side. Like, he able to do that and walk in there like that because the law was on his side. So I just, as I've done more research, and I've done another film too called Monsters and Men, and got the perspective of black, African-American police officers. And I got to say, I felt so ignorant until I got to do those ride-alongs and talk to those people and interview those people. How much I don't know, how much that what goes on in their head and what they have to go home to every night, with that kind of burden. There are men and women out there truly serving their community who are woke as F, right? Who are serving their community, and some of them are doing more good in their community than some other people complaining about this brutality or whatever. So it's just perspective, and you just gotta, you gotta do your research. Right. There's people out there that do care and are trying to do it from different positions. It was interesting working with the actors too, playing, that were in the organization, the Ku Klux Klan, and how they had to go certain places to get the true, authentic, storytelling out. It was to service the film, but it's interesting because, again, with words and how powerful they are, one would say we're just trying to protect ourselves from the oppressor, and we're the oppressed or whatever. But to your point, I think hate sometimes is rooted from insecurity. You know what I mean? So this sort of, notion that I don't know. I just feel like with this movie, when people see it, that's the whole point, what you're talking about. They see how divided we are, but it does feel like it could be the same thing. There's two kinds of hate languages, but that's why it's so important that we talk about it. Use our words in different words than hateful ones. Right now, I can't let go of the Ron Star Wars playlist. My goodness, I got Superfly Stays on there, Curtis Mayfield. I'm Anita Baker right now. Then obviously I got Drake going. I got the Kanye albums or whatever you call those 7-track that he did. I got those going. I'm all over the place right now. How powerful words are, and how when hate is organized like that, how it can, it's generational. How also there were women too, but men in the police department that were white that supported this man, that wanted the same thing Ron wanted. So what does that mean? That means it's going to take a community. It's going to take a group effort to overcome this thing in this country. It's going to take people of all colors, men and women, all genders, all colors, to come together and decide that we got to change. We got to change our language. Spike wanted all those words, those cuss words, and those slang words that are very, very overtly really offensive. He needed that to be a part of, because that's what hate sounds like. That's why Ron was able to get in with these guys, because that's the language. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting because David Duke was changing the face at the time, the more clean-cut, educated guy next door, but behind closed doors, it still comes down to that basic vernacular, that hatred vernacular. So I'm hoping people can see that. And this was in the 70s. Now, granted, this is a period piece, but it's very contemporary. So we need to start changing